Welcome back, everyone, to another thrilling episode of Thrive As You Program with Coach 2Js. This is your host, Jeremy Jones, and today we're going to talk about looking up your old score in the competition context with a workout like today, and why we're doing rope climbs. It's not what you think. So, so probably the most common competition context is to look up your old score. Now, we haven't done this one for about a year, a little over a year, so people may not have this one logged if you guys haven't been doing the programming, they haven't been at your gym for over a year. In that case, it's still a good discussion to have at the beginning of class and say, hey, did you guys look up your old score? Have you done this one in the past? How did you do it? How did you scale or modify it, or how did you break up the rounds? And you can kind of use that as almost like a circle question, so that there's this expectation set that you should be logging your workouts and you should be tracking at least when it's a competition day. And that's the culture you want to set for your gym, so that people understand that we are measuring progress and we are tracking things over time. So really short warm-up today, and then we're going to do some ankle mobility, and then we're going to do rope climb progression. So this is one of those days where if you wanted to do the dynamic warm-up and then put the skill practice warm-up as part of that, that's totally fine. And I know it says spend 8 minutes doing the rope climb progressions, but if you guys wanted to extend that out, that's totally fine. You should have enough time. We did a lot of push presses recently in the push press focus, and double unders, depending on the class, you may not have a lot of coaching to do. So we have been doing a lot of double unders in workouts and in skill work. So this is, again, another one of those workouts that we're going to be using those double under skills, and it also is a good way to point out to people that there is a theme when it comes to the skill practice warm-ups, and when we're doing certain times of the year. So in the last 3 or 4 weeks, we've been sort of focusing on double unders and jump rope. But so if you want to spend more time on the rope climbs, that's totally fine. Now, in this case, the rope climbs, I don't have a rope climb workout specifically planned in the next few days, but in the next week or so, there will be one showing up. So it's still a great time to experiment, have people playing around with different rope climb variations. I listed a few of them here. Even if you have, a situation where you have, ropes attached on the ceiling, and they're maybe 8 feet apart or whatever, you can have people try to climb the ropes with one arm on each rope climb, which is kind of fun, right? So the ropes hang down, they can see how high they can get. It's just kind of one of the ways we can experiment with movement beyond just the stuff that we see showing up in classes or whatever. It's one of the rope climbs in general tend to be something that is, I believe, is more functional than doing kipping pull-ups or just high volume movements like pull-ups or box jumps, which aren't that functional. Rope climbs, and you can even have that conversation and explain to people, the diameter of the rope, the thickness of the rope is really important. If it's too thin, it's actually impossible to climb, and if it's too thick, it's actually really hard to climb. And so that's one of the reasons why the climbing ropes are the way they are, is to make them more usable. But if someone has a standard 3/8 inch diameter rope, it's almost impossible to climb without knots. So it's something to point out to people, that just because you can climb a rope in the gym doesn't mean you can climb like a climbing rope without special equipment. All right, so Kid Dynamite is a nod to actually Mike Tyson. That was one of his nicknames. And whenever we do these like really double under heavy workouts, I like to grab old boxing references. But this is a CrossFit classic, so it tends to be it's a little bit more aggressive on a volume-wise than a lot of the workouts that I make, but I do like putting these workouts in there because it challenges people in a different modality. It also proves to people that pacing and doing shorter workouts will still pay off when we do these types of workouts. We don't have to do these workouts all the time to still be decent or good at them. So it's 5 rounds, 25 push presses at kind of a lightweight, light to medium weight, definitely not a heavy weight, but for 25 reps, I would consider this significantly heavy. So we spent a lot of time doing push presses, and that was definitely on the top end side of things, and so there isn't necessarily going to be a lot of carryover. And this is another thing you can point out to people, is that as we develop those 1 rep, 3 rep, 5 rep maxes, that doesn't necessarily carry over to 5 rounds of 25. Those are different different energy pathways. We're going to be using a lot more slow twitch muscle fibers when we do this. even though it's going to be significantly lighter. So, say for example, somebody works up to, a 225 push press for 3, that doesn't necessarily mean that this workout's going to be way faster than before when they only had a 200-pound push press for 3, because it's different. There is some carryover, but it's not. If you really wanted to get good at push presses at this light weight, you just have to do more higher reps, higher volume. But like I said, there's going to be some transfer. But just if people have this expectation, like they're going to do, oh, I did a big weight, so now I'm going to do 25 unbroken for all 5 rounds. You might say, well, that's not how this works. And one of the things to point out, though, that is important is that whether it's a heavy push press or a light push press, the hip opening and the use of the lower body is going to be really important to getting these bigger sets and going faster than trying to use too much shoulders, right? So people need to understand that it should be a very aggressive hip pop. One of the reasons why I like this workout is because people who are inefficient with their double unders because they're doing too much of their hips and not their ankles. They're not bouncing on their ankles and they're using too much knees and hips to do the jump. That's going to punish them a little bit for the push presses and it's going to wear them out. So so people who are really efficient with their hips on the push presses and then really efficient with their ankles on their double unders are going to have a good score at the end of it versus somebody who's just muscling their way through it and they're not really paying attention to efficiency. And these are the kind of things that you want to point out to people so that they put stock into or at least pay attention to things like efficiency beyond just getting the work done. But it is a lot. It's going to blow people's shoulders up. So it's funny that we did a shoulder mobility yesterday. Or a couple days ago. We're not going to hammer the shoulders with the mobility here today. We're actually going to do the ankles because of all these double unders that we're doing and we've been doing. But some people might need a little bit of extra shoulder care. But we did hips before, ankle today, hips tomorrow because we've got some big hip movements going on. Because what we're actually doing tomorrow is giving the shoulders a break after today, and then we got shoulder mobility planned after that. But people need to break this thing up pretty early because it's a shoulder burner, and so just make sure people know that it's not they should not do 25 unbroken, 50 unbroken, as many as they can on the second set, or 25 unbroken, and they should plan on pacing this out a little bit, going 10-10-5 or 15-10 on the first couple rounds, and then double unders, they need to make sure they're efficient with keep their hands close together, they're not shrugging their shoulders or bringing their hands really wide on the double unders. That's going to help them maintain that pace over the length of the workout. And this is another one of those cases where the workout isn't crazy long, so you may go ahead and fit this into the class, or at least point people in this direction. They feel like maybe they got really frustrated with their double unders, so they didn't get the intensity that they wanted. So go ahead and have them do the cash out or the hypertrophy at the end. But that's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot, and thrive on.